So here you are. Here you are. Okay, let me see here. Now I believe we are on air. Yes, we are on air. Yes, love's in the air right now. Okay, here we are today with one program. One program. It is Bom Saber. It's in Portuguese, and it's in English. Is good to know. Thank you very much. Yeah, today, and I'd like to thank you, everybody that's come here by the time they come to watch, to attend our program. And today we have a very special guest, very special, a young boy, young mediator. Why do you call young mediator? Because I really feel very happy when I see a young boy, a young person, independent, a young person, deciding being a mediator, deciding bring peace in another form. It's making me feel very happy. Well, today we have a special guest, as I told you. Today we have here with us, we have Mr. Kanishka Pandey. Kanishka. Well, it's a beautiful, I like this pronunciation, Kanishka Pandey. Well, and this young boy, this young mediator, but very experienced. And he is, as a mediator, he has assisted in resolving dispute concerning issues of violence against women at the workplace. Wow, excellent. Penultimate year law student at Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies, New Delhi. My dear friend, let me call you friend, Mr. Kanishka Pandey. Good evening, good morning from Brazil, and good evening for Delhi. Welcome.
Thank you so much for that warm and wonderful greetings. If you don't mind, can I call you Professor?
Of course, I'm very happy and call me Professor. You know,
Yes.
one thing that makes me feel very happy, when people call me Dr. Jean Carlos, in my mind is, well, it's coming some charge. Someone is asking me to charge something. But when people call me Professor, it make me feel sure. I'm sure that that person that called me Professor, I I I put a little brick in his life. I'm part of his life because he called me Professor. For me, it's the most title, not doctor, PhD. No, Professor is my great title. Thank you very much. Well,
I'm honored to call you
and you,
Professor.
how could I call you? Mr. Kanishika, Doctor, what can I call you?
You can just call me
Kan
Kanishka. That's good.
Kanishka. Kanishka.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Kanishka, thank you very much. We have here people from around the world. They are watching now, they are attending our program, and I'm very happy because of that. And well, I have here Professor Catarina Monteiro. She say good morning. Catarina Monteiro, she's a mediator and a lawyer, and she's our director of post-graduation course here. She's a master, and she works with the circle of construction of peace with familia, they call systemic, familia systemic method. It's very interesting. She's a very good professional and very good mediator too. We have also here Professor Maria Augusta Bastos. She's our director, academic director, but she's not here today because she's a lawyer and mediator, but now she's working as a lawyer in a court. Kanishka, thank you very much in our program, Bom Saber. My dear friend, I'd like to ask you the first question because I have questions here, people ask you from the YouTube and here. But the first question is why? You are a very young boy. You are starting being a lawyer with a penultimate year of being a lawyer. But I know about your curriculum. You have a very extensive curriculum in mediation. And my question is, why? Why have you decided to be a mediator? It's very interesting question I make, because I need to understand why have you decided to be a mediator. Will you tell us, please?
I'll be honored to actually, talk about this, because first, to state why I decided to be a mediator, I like to state the verse. I think mediation decided to choose me for, walking upon its path, because I realized I was in my third year, and I was, attending one of my professor's classes, and I heard about the term mediation. And when she told me that mediation is a method of resolving dispute that exists out of court, where nobody is involved except the parties and a neutral third person called a mediator, who will facilitate the conversation. I thought that I raised my hand and asked the first question that came to my mind. Then why do we go to lawyers when we can go to mediators? And she told me because when the mediation came in India, the practice of fighting with one another was very prevalent, because people would always taunt each other and say that they want to go to court for every little thing. And at that point of time, I believe, I as a law student, I decided to choose mediation, because I believe when we have a method that can actually help the parties get out of conflict without going to a judicial body, then why do we need to unnecessarily put the party through all the emotional and the mental burden? And I realized that one fact, because from I even as a law student, I was interning with a lot of advocates at that point of time. So one thing that I've heard from every mediator's mouth, and every lawyer turned mediator's mouth, and I agree with it, I completely agree with it. When you are an advocate and you see your client walk out when you have won the case, you'll never see your client happy with your performance, happy with the results, and your client will always be burdened with a lot of emotions.
Yes.
It would be like you are you have half emptied it's a half empty cup, because you can just see the half empty area, but you cannot see the water that is still there. So there are a lot of suppressed emotions, a lot of differences that are left. But as a mediator, I have noticed, and personally while working on cases, I have noticed that parties that were in conflict, may it be a husband and wife in a relationship, may it be a teenagers in their relationship, may it even be families in dispute. I think it's a healthy process to come out with everything at the mediation table, because as a mediator, I am there to facilitate and encourage the parties to pour it all out on the mediation floor, because that's the point of that table. In a judicial forum, you have to be very constrained, because you are not the one speaking. Your advocate is the one always speaking on behalf of you, and you will never be called upon the judicial forum and told to argue for yourself. Obviously, that's why you have an advocate. But when you go to a mediation, you have an advocate just to take with the legal aspects if they arise.
Yes.
But mostly the mediation is centered around, and it is actually a client driven process, and that's the importance of why mediation should be preferred over litigation, because as soon as the client has control of the situation, and he
Yes.
understands and able to pour out all their problems in front of the other party, they will be able to resolve the dispute, and they'll be able to reach a solution, which in case of a court case, they will have to wait years and years and years and years until they finally decide either one of the parties has to drop the suit, or either one of the parties decide to back off, and which is neither of these are possibilities or things that happen very often. It's a very rare possibility such a case happens. Otherwise the cases go on and go on. Even the parties pass away, I have seen, in civil suits. That's why I feel mediation is the way to give the parties what they want.
Yes, I like this. Is the way to give the party what they want, really, and they decide, as you told here in your words, that they assume they have the control, a whole the process. Very good. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
congratulations for your point of view about about to be a mediator. And our topic today is I would say, a very sensitive topic: mediation in dispute concerning women in India. And I believe that this program today is very important for not only women in India, but the whole the world. In the whole world, it's a very important for everybody to understand the the role of the mediation and the dispute concerning women. Very good. And the first question is, what's the role of women in mediation?
So, as far as I have been dealing with a lot of cases of, domestic violence, marital relationships, when I was working with an ODR platform called Sama, and also while working, as a assistant to mediators, I realized that women are the key figures, since in majority of the disputes refer to mediation, you'll always find a woman sitting at the other end of the table. Either
Yes.
she is the mediator or she is sitting at the other end of the table. And both the possibilities are highly likely. I'll tell you why, because I'll let everyone know why. Because women, I personally believe, and I've seen also, that women are better mediators. Why? Because they can entice
I
and reach
agree.
out. They can entice and reach out to people having an emotional blockage by looking out for ways to provide a solution to them. While men cannot, figuratively figure out the emotional blockage and reach out to people as effectively as women can. Because and that's why I'll quote an example also from I was doing an empirical research, and I on how women are required in workplaces more and more, right? And there was this report that was given by the NCB, National Crimes Bureau. It is an organization in India, government organization in India. The National Crime Bureau in India, it stated that disputes where 90% of women are involved, like both the sides are women,
Yeah.
they get settled out easily in 1 to 2 sessions, or 1 to 2 meetings. And that by meetings, they specifically point towards a mediation. So
Yes.
mediation is always happening. It's not that the mediation cannot happen unless and until you will have to be in a mediation table. Even in a police station, sometimes the constable there becomes the mediator, while the
Oh,
two parties fighting with each other, they try to settle out their differences. And in such cases, when there are two women involved, a reasonable logical outcome is reached.
yeah.
It's a fact,
Yeah.
like 90%. So that's something that was very interesting to me, and I was amused by the same, because I thought, when women can be so so sensitive about things, and they can reach out emotionally so well, aren't the perfect mediators?
Yes. Here in Brazil, I can tell you that you have much more women in mediation than men. We have much more women in mediation than men. Men, they are more arbitrator, like to be arbitrator, to give the order, to give the, to make the word. And the
Yeah.
women, they have a feeling to understand much more. I believe that's my opinion, emotion. And my question here is the impact of the mediation in dealing. This is a very interesting question, with domestic violence dispute against women in matrimonial relationships. It's a very interesting question. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I understand. So like I also, when I was this is specifically from one of the cases that I was working from in summer.
Mhm.
So what happened was, I'll there was this a couple that was having a 6 months old baby. So they were constantly in conflict with each other, and because of that, they had to live separately, and they had entered into a mediation. So I was assisting one of my senior mediators to resolve that dispute. So suddenly one day at night, I received the call from the woman. She called me, and she was in a frantic state of mind, and she told me that her husband, who was living separately at that point of time because they were in mediation and not come out of on a settlement yet,
Oh,
had come over to her house, and frantically she was threatening her and saying that he'll take away the baby, and she was very scared out of her wits.
yes.
So at that point of time, I realized that even though parties can get into a mediation, the cruelty aspect needs to be dealt with effectively, so that even during the course of mediation,
Yeah.
neither of the parties face this again and again. Because see what happens, that when the parties are in mediation and they're going to reach a resolution, and suddenly a sudden chain of events like this happen, where one of the parties go and threaten the other party to give something that they want, rather than agreeing upon a mutual settlement, then the mediation that was built up, at the point up to which the trust was being built upon, a bond was being built upon, so that these parties can come together again, that breaks away. So it elongates the process of mediation. So we need to deal with the feeling of cruelty very effectively. We have to emphasize upon the aspect that, especially in matrimonial relationships,
Yeah, of course, of course.
until the
Well,
point of time both the parties are out of dispute and agreed upon a settlement, they should not come within a radius of like even 10 meters or 1 kilometer, like nothing. They should not be around each other at all. That's one of the most important things that I learned while working there. That the parties that are in conflict, especially matrimonial parties, they should not be fighting. And if they are fighting, then it should be always separated until the settlement is there, the fight is resolved. I also felt that women, you know, when cruelty, especially in India, what happens, that men and women, who is the party which suffers the most from cruelty? So the party that suffers most from cruelty are the women. They are the ones that
yes,
get the pain inflicted upon, the physical violence and mental violence, emotional violence is inflicted upon, because there is a gender stereotype that exists, that women must be subdued.
yeah,
And therefore, if you like, if I can cite one thing, like even the Supreme Court in our country, while taking out one of its most important landmark judgments, stated that subordination of women is wrong. Women must be treated as an human being and equal to men. And that's why whenever and dispute is there, the woman becomes a victim, and the men becomes a predator, because they start to emotionally burden them, physically
yes.
hit them, and that's very wrong. It's very wrong, and that's something that has to be broken down, especially in India.
Kanishka, it's not only in your country, in my country too, Brazil, and I believe that many, many, many countries around the world, or maybe in all the planets. Very interesting your observation. Also, and we have a question about mediation bills and its effect on India women,
Yeah.
specifically mediation bill and its effect
Yeah.
on Indian women.
So that's one of the most important development that took place in India currently. Mediation Bill 2021 is has been formulated, and this is something which is going to be a milestone for the mediators in India, for women in India, and especially for the whole world, because India
Yes.
as a country will be able to connect with all other countries and profess mediation more easily.
Yeah.
There can be mediation center. It is under the bill. The power has been given to set up mediation centers, international mediation centers, like the Singapore International Mediation Center, SIMI. Like similarly, India International Mediation Institute can be set up, and court annexed mediations would be mandatory. If someone even tries to go to the court will say no. You first go to mediation, and then you come to us.
Yeah.
So that would, become the starting point of what we call as a mediation era in India. People will start to resolve dispute. People will start to, talk about mediation. People will start to practice mediation, and more young people like me would, choose mediation, because in today's time, and even in my college, if like only 20, 30, 50, 40% people are aware about mediation, sadly,
Wow,
because
great.
no one knows that there is something called mediation which can resolve the dispute and more easily, more effectively, more
Yeah,
speedily in comparison to litigation. Because
I
it's not being talked about in the TV channels. It's not being talked about on the media forums that are existing in India. But it's being professed in the law colleges now, and it's there in the parliament, the mediation bill, and hopefully as soon as as it passes, there would be a lot of positive effects, positive outcomes that we look forward to, like the setting up of the institutional mediation. Secondly, we look forward to setting up of mandatory mediation before litigation, and this would, affect the things to, you know, in criminal matters, especially in civil matters and commercial matters. I'm not saying that criminal matters cannot be as effectively dealt with.
yes.
The point is that sometimes in criminal matter, the mediation fails because the party which has inflicted the pain and has done a very grievous offense, he may not be even he may not be forgiven at any and all cost, because if a person commits murder, it's not possible to forgive him for the other party. That's something
Very,
which that's something that is still, but still there are developments in that field as well, because at least criminal matters would be, at least a suggestion would be given for mediation if the offenses are, of too harmful in nature.
very interesting. Yes, you're right. You're right. Perfect. Perfect. Your observation. And I have something that really sometimes gave me feel very curious is about the need for choosing mediation as a dispute resolution mechanism, as a method by statutory bodies like NCW, Mahila Police Tanas. Tell about us this.
Yes. So, like I quickly told you, about how I saw that the police constable was acting as a mediator
Yes.
for two parties. So, from a practical experience that I, understood, that there needs to be a mediation setup in small facilities like the
Yeah.
police station, like in big MNCs there should be a mediation cell. In big corporates there should be a mediation cell, and especially in statutory bodies like the National Commission for Women, which
Yeah.
deals with disputes concerning violence against women. There should be a mediation cell, and there should always be an option of referring the dispute to the mediation to over senior mediators. Like we have a lot of senior mediators in our country now. Hopefully, a lot of young people like me would also make senior mediator in a while and help out people. But right now we have a few good senior mediators in a country like AJ Jawad sir and Veena Ali ma'am, and there is also Samadhan in Delhi, New Delhi. It is the New Delhi Mediation Center that is the run by the High Court administration, and there is a particular floor dedicated to mediation in the High Court. So even
Great.
the institutional mediation has not started, but judicial bodies also always want to go and recommend mediation. Our Chief Justice recently, while talking about mediation, stated that mediate, don't litigate. And
Yes.
what he wanted to emphasize upon was that even the parties that were in dispute want to get out of the dispute. So if you keep fighting, it's the advocates that want to keep fighting most of the time. It's not the parties, because the advocates, get encompassed in the cases so deeply that they forget all about what the parties exactly want. What the parties want the most is to get out of the dispute. They don't want even the dispute to exist. So you should
Yeah, that's
always
right.
go mediation first over litigation.
Uh,
And
I'm sorry.
yes, and the bodies like Mahila Police Thana and NCW, bodies have very a standard of cases dealing with cruelty against women, matrimonial cases, even teen violence, where a live-in relationship, a teenager has inflicted violence upon their spouse. All these cases get referred to MCW and Mahila Police Thana.
Yes.
And if the power is granted to these statutory bodies to, set up a mediation cell, maybe half of the cases that go into litigation and causes a problem for both the spouses, young spouses in the future, destroy
Yes.
their future completely, will be settled in a manner of like 6 to 5 months. So that would be fantastic for both the parties also and the system also, because we have a lot of backlog of these kind of cases in our system.
Yes, I have here, thank you very much for the answer. I have here in our, attending our program, this is Dr. Zoraida Fernandez, and she is from Paraguay. She's from Paraguay, she's a lawyer, she's a mediator as well, and she has a question for you. And the question,
Yes.
and the question is, how many women you know that, how much you know that the women in India choose to resolve the conflict in mediation? To have
I
estimated?
believe, hello, Professor. Firstly, and I'm so happy that you asked this question, because it's a very fabulous thing that mediation is something which has been going on in our culture for a long period of time. And the people who recommended mediation in our culture of India from way back from the time of kings and palaces were actually the women. The women did not want to, fight it out in wars and fight it out with knives. It's a very famous phrase also, that we are women and we do not fight with swords. We resolve things with words. And that's why in India, the culture is whenever there is a dispute, the women are the first people to, say, let's calm down. Let's sit at a table. Let's sit with a third person, with an elder, and let's sort out the dispute. That's the power of mediation that has been prevalent in India for a long period of time. And as far as the legal, like how mediation is being referred in India, I have, in my experience, I have seen that most of the women that came to the Mahila Police Thana did not want to lodge a complaint. They did not want to lodge a suit against their husband, because he is someone they are living with. He is someone they love and take care of every day. And because they got into a conflict one fine day, it does not it makes them fall into a situation of confusion. Why? And they do not want to lodge a prosecution against him, want him to suffer for it. No, they simply want to get out of that situation. They want the
Yes.
husband to come and say, let's solve this peacefully, let's solve this with words, let's not solve it with fists and words of abuses. That's why they hesitate to lodge a complaint. I have seen personally that women have come to when we were resolving a dispute on Sama, whenever we had a Zoom call or whenever we had a Sama call, the women will come and talk to my assisting, the person I was assisting, the senior mediator, and she would always state to him that, ma'am, I would not like to lodge an official complaint against my husband. He has lost his school and I do not want him to suffer for the same for a longer period of time. I don't want either of us to suffer, because if I lodge a complaint, there is no end to it. And the police will take over and the judicial mechanism will take over and there'll be no solution to it. That's why I want to, dissolve it in a more confidential manner, in a manner that does not, invades a private space. And that's why they choose mediation. That's why they come into mediation, to answer ma'am's question.
Okay. And a question is, thank you very much, Dr. Zoraida. All the answer is here. And how, because we have other methods of mechanism to, they call suitable mechanism, suitable method for treating conflicts. And how mediation is, in your opinion, of course, is a better resolution method for resolving dispute for women, as compared to other legal and ADR methods. Very interesting question. Why? You compare. No, mediation is better. Why? In comparison to the other method, please.
Yes. So this is something which I believe is a point of view of a young mediator. From the perspective of a young mediator, I'll always want to say that mediation is the best dispute resolution mechanism. And why if I have to say that it's best, why I'll say it, because when we enter into a negotiation, first let's talk about the different ADR methods. As far as I know, there exist 4 ADR methods. First is mediation. Second is negotiation.
Yes.
Third is conciliation, and fourth is a reconciliation. That's what comes into mind.
Reconciliation like that.
Yes. So when you go into conciliation, it simply means that parties have decided to drop the dispute and come to resolve with each other. It can happen in a legal proceedings also, which often conciliation and reconciliation is a concept which is often dealt with in legal proceedings, right?
Yes.
Then we come to negotiation. I missed one out. I missed arbitration. Very important. Yes, arbitration. Yes.
Arbitration. Yes. Arbitration. Yeah, of course.
So we come to negotiation. The negotiation, even though it's a very effective method because it's a purely client-driven process, the problem I have seen parties facing is that a negotiation they only have their counsels with them. Yeah. They don't have an independent third party who can help them break the ice and set out the interests of the client in a more visible manner. Because what happens when you're sitting there with your counsels at your side, your counsels want to go on the legal jargons.
Yes.
They do not want to settle on the basic point. They do not want the parties to actually settle on the basic facts of the case. Rather they go into the legal intricacies and they would like to say that my client has a stronger he's a dominant one. The other will say no, my client is a dominant one. And that's the problem. You cannot in a negotiation. The point is you need to support each other, and as a client and counsel pair, you need to provide a solution to the other party that is acceptable to them. You have to try and give them what they want. You cannot say that you are the dominant one. You just want to grab what you have, you come for and go away. You have to give the other party something. Then only they'll give you what you want. Yes. A solution for a solution. A mutually beneficial agreement is one in which both the parties are satisfied. And that is very difficult to reach when there is no independent third party to facilitate the process. In arbitration, I have seen, even though it's an independent third party process, like the arbitrator is an independent, but since arbitration in India especially, there is an award that is passed in arbitration and becomes legally binding on the parties. If they don't abide by it, the parties go to the court and divulge everything that was going on in the arbitration proceeding. Because the arbitration proceeding is something which becomes which comes on the record as soon as a litigation is filed. As soon as someone says that the arbitrator did not pass a reason order, as soon as the person says that the arbitrator was not passing an order in conscience with the public policy. So arbitration is something which is totally upon how the arbitrator understands the problem and passes his award upon it. But if one of the parties is satisfied, they'll come to the court. You will be stuck in that court proceeding, and everything that you diverge in the arbitration proceeding under the notion of confidentiality, even in the notion of confidentiality. If the proceedings are perverse in India, there is a legislation legislation that says if the proceedings of arbitration are made perverse by any manner, then the confidentiality does not exist. Because the confidentiality, even though it was entered into by the parties at that point of time, when the proceedings have now become perverse, they will be revealed in front of the court, and it comes on the record. And do the party who goes for ADR want what they have said to be confidential to come on record for the world to see? Especially in commercial and corporate arbitrations, the parties are very resilient to do anything unless and until the arbitrator signs an NDA or NDA, and all the parties, all the people present there signs an NDA. No one is able to divulge anything until that point of time. That's what I have seen in complex corporate arbitration.
Yes.
So why I'm saying mediation is the best method? Because firstly, there's a settlement agree. There's a settlement that is mutual, that is on the ground of mutual consent of both the parties. It
Yes.
is not that the mediator is saying you to settle, so you are settling. No, the mediator is not deciding for you. Like in the arbitration, the arbitrator decides for you. You
Yes.
are deciding for yourself whether you want to, enter into this arrangement or not. And secondly, since the mediator is there, he is there to ensure that the proceedings go smoothly, that the people present there do not get stuck on legal jargons, go round and round in circles. And the mediator has his mediator toolkit, what we call a mediator toolkit.
Yeah.
And as a third party, he helps the proceedings to go forward using his mediation tools. He calls for a private caucus when he sees that no party is ready to move forward with the proceeding. He says to the parties that the parties, if they feel that then he makes the parties comfortable. He makes the parties feel heard. And after hearing both the parties, he provides them this platform where they can take out all their emotions. What I'm saying, the first thing that I said, that the parties are able to satisfy themselves to their utmost conscious along with their counsels, and then say to the parties, if if the parties feel that they want to settle,
Yes.
they want to enter into this arrangement, then please parties do sign this, may it be oral agreement, may it be written agreement, and you can come into this arrangement. And that is speciality of a mediator. He does not gives the ruling, but he makes it possible.
Yeah.
He does not
I
give the
agree.
ruling, but he makes it possible.
You've told something very interesting that I thought about now, and say that the mediator has no power to decide. Mediator has the power to guide, has the power to listen, to facilitate the communication. And this topic you talked about now, let me show you something. This is a topic that I'm going to make a webinar about this. Abusive mediation, when and how it occurs. Find out what the signals which reveal that a party is a victim of an abuse in mediation process. But it's happened. Yes, it's happened. It's happened. It's happened. We have also abusive mediation. We have, and I'm going to talk about this webinar. I'm going to talk about that. And now you just touch it in this kind when the mediator, he knows, he understands, or she understands that they do not have the power to decide instead of arbitrator. But even though they try to orient, they try to suggest, they try to give a solution. And for me, it's a abuse in mediation. And the person did not decide for himself. Thank you very much. Good.
Thank you.
My dear friend, oh wow, our talk so good. About 45 minutes, we are talking so fast, so click the time, quickly. We just reached the final of our interview. Thank you so much. I'd like that you give us your final words in this program.
I was, firstly, I'm so honored to have been here, with Professor, because Professor is a wonderful person. He has a lot of knowledge of mediation, and I, as a law student, always, why I specifically asked him if I can call him Professor, because as soon as I call him Professor, I feel, enlightened. I feel light. I feel that yes, I have a mediator with me who can even guide me. Even though I am a mediator, he is someone who can guide me even better, as he has seen a lot of things. And that's why, out of respect, I always, and love, I call him Professor. So that's something I want to, tell people that, because I have, watching him, following him, seeing whatever videos and whatever knowledge he puts out. And it's so good that someone is actually trying to spread the word about mediation. As I told you, in India, especially, there is a need to, spread about the knowledge of mediation. And even I am trying to do so from my own college's ADR cell. I organize competitions, I organize workshops for students for students from outside of India, online workshops. I also collaborate with for doing events with Mediate Guru and Madhyam. These are two organizations working on specifically spreading the message about ADR and especially about mediation.
Yes.
So
Congratulations.
I try to get the word out as much as possible that people need to understand that even though courts exist, a judicial forum exists, that is not the only way out. And the best way out of a conflict is where a parties are sitting next to each other on their own basis, on their own terms, along with a third person who will help them, guide them through the process, and then they come upon the solution. And it's the most effective process. One of the things that I find the most amazing about mediation
Yeah.
is that anyone can be a mediator. Anyone can be a mediator. He does not need to have a degree or he does not need to have a
No.
background of law. He can be a mediator and he can look out and help out two parties who are in conflict. And that's the most amazing thing about mediation. The
Yeah.
term mediation itself, emanates with equality.
That's right. Okay, very good. Some days I'm going to make here around the table, and I invite you and your crew have a
Please.
talk and we are going to spread our insights about mediation. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. My friend, my colleague, Kanishka Pandey. Thank you very much for participating. Thank you for you. Thank you, Professor Catarina Monteiro. Thank you so much. Dr. Zoraida, thank you for being here with us. Thank you so much, you. And I'm sorry, I forgot something here. Oh my, it's not here at all. It's my heart. I always give you a heart for you that's here. Thank you very much. Kanishka, my friend, I hope to see you in the next time. And I ask you that are watching our program, attending our program, if you didn't have time now, please share this video with all the people that they needed to understand the importance of mediation. We are here, I always say, give mediation a chance. And you see that we can change the world. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, Dr. Catarina Monteiro. Zoraida, God bless you. My friend Kanishka, thank you very much, my friend. Bye-bye. God bless you.
Bye. Thank you.